Okay, I just finished, well, kind of more or less finished. I need to go over it and articulate some things better in a better way. It's basically an article, most boring article I ever did, but I started it, therefore I wanted to finish it. Some small details in it might not be completely accurate now, they were accurate at the time of writing, because the whole pandemic thing is a fast moving thing in which there's different theories on how, for instance, can you still be a carrier once you're vaccinated and pass it on? Therefore, you need. It's not that clear cut. Therefore, still need to do the same precautions that other people have been doing until you can get rid of it. Things like this. Although there's some good news on that now, or seems to be, but it's still not clear cut. So things like that. Yeah. So here I am having to write this. Why is it boring for me? Well, because it should be a no-brainer that the UK does not play with people's lives like that. They're doing the same thing a lot of health professions all across the world are trying to do, trying to stop people dying from the virus, right? And we don't, you know, if we were that um, unprofessional, if the UK was that unprofessional and played with people's lives in that kind of way, they would have been using the vaccine from day one, but it wouldn't have been safe, right? It is sit down and listen, because if you keep talking, you don't hear what's being said. You only hear your own voice, and therefore you only hear your own conversation. So, for now, just for a few moments, shut the fuck up, sit down, and open your ears. It is a clinically passed vaccine. That means it's gone through measures like any other vaccine. There's reasons why it was faster than usual, and I guess what, we're in an emergency yet. See, I shouldn't. It's shameful that I have to sit here and actually say these things, and have to write. You know, I didn't have to write that article, but I started it, so I was gonna finish. Now I can get on to more enjoyable subjects. Yeah, and there's many of them actually. I don't know which one to write about first. Um, the other channel will be back with a template soon. With once I get some of those subjects out, anyway. I did kind of lose the template, but it was actually, if you remember, I told people I installed Linux over the top of and a new different distro. It's brilliant. Linux, Pop OS, Pop OS, off free offer magazine, or if you want to, depends how you see it. You could be paying for the CD, and the magazine's free. But Linux, the whole idea is free open source software in general, with some exceptions here and there. I like Pop OS, put together by System 76. System 76 are shipping out laptops, so you can have one custom built, and they're shipping them out with Linux pre-installed. With hardware with Linux in mind, that doesn't mean it's old hardware or anything like that. It means it's pretty good hardware. Um, Very good posh laptops. I can't afford one. I mean, it's custom built as well. It's just I'd have one custom built, like a tough design, like a ThinkPad myself. I'm talking to you via a ThinkPad right now, and I've told you what I've done with that. So several changes to this ThinkPad that you can't do. You just cannot do this to a modern day laptop. You can't change the screen without getting in there and just ruining everything. You can't swap change keyboards without doing that. And so change the screen, change the keyboard, change the hard drive, change the chip that is picking up mobile phone networks to a mSATA drive as well. So it's two hard drives. Change the memory. Change the Bluetooth Wi-Fi chip and flash the BIOS so it could accept that. And there's so much you can do with these machines that make them an updated system. There's some ThinkPads out there with a socketed thing connection, socketed for your CPU, so you could change an i5 into an i7. I know AMD are taking the lead now, and there's going to be some interesting leaps and bounds in software there, I think, because of the power of that CPU, the Ryzen chip. It's been out for a while now, but certainly at one time I can remember when Intel was lagging behind and AMD were taking a lead. Then for a long time, Intel had certainly the laptop market sewn up, and was taking a lead, even in taking a lead in desktops as well. Now AMD are back on track with taking a lead, and Intel lagging behind as well. Flashing the BIOS reveals a whole list of options that Intel, or Lenovo as well, maybe whoever is involved in creating these laptops, as they are, the whole BIOS there, they don't want you to see and play with those things. There are settings on there, I have no idea what they do, I want to learn what they do. You can change some certain voltages here that are route into your memory, but be careful because you might blow up your main board, blow up the memory chips and things like that. There's so many things you can do with this, and I want to get there's an RX 220 behind me streaming music. I get a third one actually. There's one cheap enough going as an experimental because I've got some ideas. You can get a backlit keyboard as well. You still have the ThinkLight. I've installed, that's another thing I did with this machine, installed a webcam. Because some of them were shipped with a webcam or without, and there's a recess in the frame there. You can still install one. Where do they get the webcam from? The webcam was from an old HP laptop, and the connections are pretty much standard on that. So I installed that. I just need to change the front plate that is on there is blank and get one so the webcam sees through. I could actually at the moment add the webcam in the OBS devices, video capture device, and USB camera, integrated camera there. But it come out blank anyway, but I just want to see if there's any light that would get through that plate out of curiosity. It's not picking it up for some reason anyway. Sometimes OBS goes a bit funny like that. Regardless, anyway. It's certainly enjoyable. I have other ideas for other projects. If you want to donate to the Exploratory Minds project, there'll be a link below. The website has the ability now for you to be the basics of signing up is completely anonymous. You don't have to fill out anything. You can change your details after the fact, because just a few clicks it creates a random username, random password, and you log in with a username and password. You don't even need an email address, But just quickly write down the password and your username, and that's how you can log in. Now, on top of that, it when you get there, it lands you on your profile page for you to immediately edit things if you want to, any way that you want. Put a real name in and all this. For security reasons, we do watch IP addresses and emails coming in and going, just in case bots are doing things and all this. But accounts are watched closely. It's by people for people. We don't have really a huge user base. I can count on 2 hands and 1 foot, maybe, or maybe 2 hands and 2 feet. How many users we have? Thank you, Thomas, for recently using the website. There's people coming and going occasionally. Last week or so has been really quiet though. That's okay. In a pandemic, there's other priorities, but also, it's like your average Facebook posting. Like you can on Facebook, with so much more things that you don't find on platforms like Facebook. There's no advertising either. You can donate to one another. It's a model that I think is worthy of trying. Whether I have the expertise enough to make it popular or not, I don't know. But anyone else out there doing something similar, good luck to them, because I think the old model, the old platforms are falling apart now. It's not a model that really works long term. It's short term and gets too big too quick for all the wrong reasons. Yeah. And we will not be plugging in things with full third parties. We're trying to keep it as tight as we can with the original software suppliers, us, and our changes here and there. When you buy the software, it's something that's entirely 100% open source, and we've utilized that and changed a lot of things to make the look and feel of Exploratory Minds to be ours. And again, it's pretty much the same with Linux, Pop OS, a laptop. You can change things on it. Imagine buying a car. You can't even see the engine. You're not allowed to lift the bonnet and all that. That's going to happen when the electric cars go out. You have to take it to a specialist to get the engineers to look at it. That's going to happen. But why would you think? See my point there? It's like, I've heard Apple are getting involved with electric cars now. That would be interesting. Some people are saying, if they do this, it would change the whole company. No. They still have the proprietary connections, the proprietary nuts and bolts and screws, so you need an expert to loosen and get in there, and they charge you the earth for fixing things. When you have Linux installed, again, like I've said previously, you still have a personal computer. That's why it's called a PC. Microsoft seem to have overridden that lie in the general market, because it's a flat out lie. When you buy a computer with Windows on it, it's no longer a personal computer. It's not your personal property. Your personal details are then potential property of Microsoft, particularly with all those backdoors that are forced in place deliberately for these forced updates all the time. I can't stand that. Never like that. It kept going that way more and more. And like many people out there, I clung to Windows 7 for quite a while, and the last time I used Windows 10 was because it came pre-installed with something. It just got awful. I hated it. is just vile and unintuitive, and hard work. It's like trying to climb through treacle, trying to get work done because it was so unfamiliar, so bulky, or shit everywhere that I'm never gonna use. If you thought Windows 8 was bad enough, Windows 10 came along and said, "Hold my beer, watch this," and you know, screw Microsoft. They really have gone too far with the aggressive marketing. It's not fair, and I'd rather have a brilliant operating system that has all its software for free, um, and people, it works to 95%. It works, to a larger degree. The Windows compatibility layer, like Wine, is really coming along very well now with ability to install things that would only run on Windows. Gaming is coming along better now as well. So much so, for some people, it's a no-brainer. You don't need Windows anymore with everything that they use. I'm not 100% clear yet, but there might be a way to get Sony Vegas. I got a Sony Vegas CD that's been flown around for quite some time. That was given to me. So if I can install that on Linux as well, I'm going to find out. Might be difficult, just find out what the patches and all that are. Linux Zorin OS is another Linux operating system that comes with a very Windows-esque look and feel, but it's not Windows, and it comes with a lot of the libraries in Wine compatibility that are the most popularly used already straight out of the box. So you've got a good level of patches and compatibility there already, and that was inevitable. That was going to happen because over time there would be the most commonly used things and the least commonly used, because Linux has all of its own equivalents that Windows has anyway. And there's open source browsers as well. There's all kinds of stuff going on that can be used. I love how effective it's become with recognizing hardware very quickly. Like I said, Windows didn't recognize this keyboard. It did the mouse. With some tweaking, eventually had to put a patch in or whatever. I can't quite remember what it was, but it recognised the Bluetooth keyboard eventually. Some problems with audio, all these things. Problems with the USB and all that. None of that really comes into play with installing Linux on this machine. It recognises mouse, keyboard immediately, and the USBs immediately. Everything, not a problem. Oh, you got Wi-Fi. Oh, pick one. So pick one, which I know which one's mine, and put the password in, and you're good to go immediately. So fuck you, Microsoft. I'm really, I'm very biased. Yeah. It never used to be that way. The earlier days of Windows 7 and me just occasionally trying Linux, I thought, nah, it's not right. I can't use this other software though, and some software crashed here and there. It wasn't quite up to par with some of the distros I was trying, but very quickly, more and more the different distros that are coming out there in the community, getting involved with lines of code here and there to improve things, grassroots, by people, for people. It turned into something really, really good. Some of the communities out there can be a bit aggressive though. If you're a complete noob, in many ways I still am. and there's been complaints among other communities. That's is typical, isn't it? You know, that happens. Uh, you know, like people saying don't go with that community that has this particular distro because they're too cocky or whatever, or even political opinions come in with here and there as well. I even heard people say don't use Peppermint 10 because you know it's by it's a British thing and they exited the European Union and they didn't like that. I was like, whoa, this is gone above and beyond any logical sense of the roots of the early roots of why Linux happened at all. And you know that's just silly. That really is silly, in my opinion. And I did use uh, Linux Peppermint 10 for quite some time and enjoyed it. It's fast and uh, you can play with the themes here and there. There's a lot of things that you could do with it, but although I found it slightly boring after a while as well, I wanted to look at something different. And Linux Pop! OS has a kind of like the Ubuntu interface now that is ideal for like touchscreen platforms as well. But if you don't have a touchscreen, it's still ideal anyway, and it's way above and beyond any interface that Microsoft would come out with. So why not use it? It really is far in advance that I've seen Microsoft to do with anything, and you know I love that because it's free and it's by people for people. It's not a big fat corporation that wants to sell you details. So I talked about this before and in relative details. But thanks for watching anyway. I look forward to doing another video soon. Cheers. Peace.